Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the 80s Cinema Club podcast. This week we are covering The Lost Boys from 1980
something.
Seven, there you go. And we are joined by someone who was actually around in the 80s, our first guest, Claire, my mother.
Good morning.
That wasn't the worst it could have been.
No, good morning.
Yes.
Both of you.
Yeah.
And everybody listening.
Yeah. So, let's get on with it then.
Very different start already.
The Lost Boys was directed by Joel Schumacher, and it stars Jason Patric as Michael, Corey Haim as Sam, Diane Wiest as Lucy Barnard. No, wait, that's not right. Diane Wiest as Lucy, Barnard Hughes as Grandpa,
Right.
Edward Herman as Max, Kiefer Sutherland as David, Jamie Gertz as Star, Corey Feldman as Edgar Frog, and Jameson Newlander as Alan Frog. The plot is as follows. Financial troubles force a recent divorcee and her teenage sons Michael and Sam to settle down with her father in the Californian town of Santa Carla. At first, Sam laughs off the rumours he hears about vampires who inhabit the small town, but after Mike meets Star and her strange friends at the local amusement park, he begins to exhibit the classic signs of a vampire. Fearing for his own safety, Sam recruits two young vampire hunters, the Frog Brothers, to save his brother by finding and destroying the head vampire.
Wow.
It had a budget of 8.5 million. Alfie, how much do you think it made?
I think it's going to be a success.
It was a success.
32 million?
32.2
Ooh.
million. Well
That's
done.
pretty close, actually.
Yeah.
I'm quite
You
impressed.
didn't just guess that.
No. I did. Nothing at Spencer.
So, without further ado, let's get on into the film.
Yeah.
Likes and dislikes
Yep.
for Lost Boys. Mum? Claire? Don't know how to address you. Mother? Mama? I don't know.
Oh, you put me off now.
I think he's put everyone off.
Sorry.
3 minutes
Whatever you're
through.
comfortable with calling me.
What did you like about The Lost Boys? I'm pretty sure it's a lot.
It is, but as a whole thing. So, yes, I was around in the 80s. I was a teenager when this came out. And I absolutely love it. I love it as much today as we watched it again last night. From when I was watching it when I was 15. So I originally saw it at the cinema. Absolutely loved it. Fell in love with the characters. So I think the characters for me are the main thing that I love about it. And even though it's a slight horror, a slant on horror, it isn't as what you would call horror as you know as today.
Well, it's a horror comedy.
But
That's what it is.
And there's some little gruesome bits in it. But for me, is the comedy underlying it.
Yeah.
So all the one-liners, the words, the script itself is just
It's
fantastic.
made of
'cause
one-liners, really.
Yeah.
Which
And
is not too bad considering that's what they were going for. It's not like when some films we've done where they dropped in a bit like haphazardly.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's kind of, it's a comedy. And it's made to have them type of jokes after like things happen.
But within that, so for me, and something that I thought you might be interested in, and it's because in the 80s we didn't have the internet. So I never
Really?
knew any of this.
Wow.
So doing a little bit of research myself, the film was actually intended to be a lot more like The Goonies, which you've already reviewed.
All right. I could see that, actually.
So it was the same producer.
Yeah, Thingy Donna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was him that was producing it and directing it at the time originally. So an earlier version, the vampires, the Lost Boys, were supposed to be about 13 to 14-year-old,
Right.
which would have made the Frog Brothers. They were going to look at them, and they were Cub Scouts around 8-year-old.
So they were basically
Star was originally a boy, a
so
young
like
boy.
aging down everyone. Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then Donna went on to produce, he left Lost Boys and went on to produce Lethal Weapon.
That's quite a change.
So
He directed Lethal Weapon.
yeah,
Yeah.
So he went on to that, and a new director stepped in and changed it. So the script basically, I think, was reasonably the same, but they upped the age limit and made it,
Right.
tried to make it a bit more
Well, I think it would have been,
adult friendly, teenager
That's what
I
friendly.
think it
Horror
would have been
Stamp probably
hard
came in.
to kill off some children vampires.
I think, well, if you'd look at it like that, it would have totally changed the whole
Yeah. Well,
thing. I
the
don't
Horror
think it'd have
Stamp
been
probably
as
Because
successful.
I mean, I guess you could have done like the scenes by the fire, which as one of my likes is shot really well, and it's really gruesome when you get the little snippets of like biting into their skulls and stuff
Yeah.
when they're trying to kill them. If that was like 12-year-olds, I don't
You
know.
definitely have a different.
Especially
stamp,
then, there's
wouldn't
other
it?
scenes where the vampire gets shoved in the bath of holy water,
Oh, God,
and
yeah.
he's just dissolving. Like it would have been really.
But would they have
disturbing.
done those
That's what I
shots
mean.
if,
Would
if
but
they'd
then
have been
would the
younger?
film- I don't think the film would have been as good.
It
It
would
would
have
have
been-
been something totally different.
Definitely more Goonies like, because like I was saying, you definitely couldn't have a horror slant where you're killing 12, 14-year-old
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, because then the vampires would become the sympathetic characters that you like. I think
yeah.
if it was kids, because I think if you look at it like that, they've all been turned as like children.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like,
by
it
this.
kind of gives you a bit of, no matter how many years ago it was, because they've been living for hundreds of years, it could have been. It'd have been a
Yeah,
bit.
because if you look at it, the only really child is Laddie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the young half vampire, which he doesn't die in it. He's
Yeah.
He's
well,
kept
a
alive.
plot spoiler. He survives at the end.
Well, the
I
Frog
think most
Brothers.
people kind of assumed they might not kill a kid.
Well, the Frog Brothers tried to kill him.
Well,
To be
yeah.
fair, he did leap at them, didn't he?
Yeah.
I can
That's
kind of
true.
understand it.
So for me, like the massive likes about it, the costumes as well. For me,
Oh, yeah, I
of
wrote
the
that
for the
down too, yeah.
time, the clothing, that was an era of bikers and things like that. It moved on. It also brought out. You hadn't really had a vampire movie for a long time. They were all quite
It's a very different. It's not Dracula.
yeah. So
It's
you
not
had
very, like
that
prestigious gentlemen going around and murdering ladies.
yeah,
It's
wooing them and
Yeah.
No,
It's
more
very different.
I saw
They
someone
kinda-
put it quite well as like it's gothic punk vampires
yeah, I
almost.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, because they reinvented them. Like they're bikers, they're still in kind of like the dark
Yeah.
clothing, but like you never saw Dracula going around on a bike, like
No.
you know.
No,
down
because
the
he was a
streets and over the
gentleman. It was a
beaches.
different
Yeah,
era, wasn't it?
definitely
so
is.
they brought it forward, and through that, it opened up for other movies to be made. Really,
It was more after this. I didn't
Well,
realise that.
Well, I mean, vampire films,
yeah,
Oh, right,
Not-
yeah,
okay.
as in
not
See, I
Lost
thought you
Boys
meant, like,
films.
sequels
because
to
then
stuff.
you've got like Interview with the Vampire,
right, yeah, of
things like
course.
that were more modern, more I suppose sexy because it was that the love stories.
Well, that's
it was
what
a different slant.
that's what the director said. Thingy Schumacher. He said, "Why did you just choose to direct it?" He said, "Because vampires are hot. Frankenstein's monster isn't hot. We can't make a film about that."
I'd agree.
Yeah. He said they're the hottest
Vampires are
monster.
I like how his idea of a hot vampire was this middle-aged video store. owner.
Max.
Max, yeah.
No, but it was the ones below him.
Yeah,
he
I
was,
think that was where he was
the
going
one-
for.
Yeah,
I think
Kiefer
it's
Sutherland.
it is like because things like the modern vampire people think of things like Twilight and stuff now,
Yeah,
but it's all different types of vampires. So they're still, I guess, they're hot, but they're like scary
Nasty,
still,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But then you go when like they get reinvented themselves again when Twilight came out and
True.
they became very romanticized. And although there is a lot in the Twilight films and films that
There's a dark
spawned off that,
side
there's a
of it.
dark side to them, but it's very much following like
that very
the
traditional.
more romantic form of
Yeah,
it.
Which I think I put down quite like as well. That's a, like we're saying, a very non-traditional representation, and that pretty funnily that these big villains for the first part of the film are just kind of nuisances. They're going around kind of annoying people in the early evenings, and then obviously killing people later on as we go through.
Yeah.
But it's a very different approach to vampires, which I thought was
It,
quite nice.
it basically just sets them out to be like these bullies
Pretty much, yeah.
that
Yeah,
move around, and it's
teenagers.
the kind of mystery. Because I mean, you kind of know you're really going to see a vampire film, but
Oh yeah,
the way they film them, it's like you don't actually know what's going on for a large chunk of it. So
you don't know who the vampires
yeah,
are.
you are
it's
very
what's gonna-
suspicious that these people who look like vampires
Oh, yeah.
are the vampires, but. You know,
It's not
there's still that
explicitly
sense
said, really,
until it's shown to you. There's still the sense of mystery that like what's kind of going on.
Mm-hmm.
Are these the vampires, or you know, the mystery behind it, Max being a vampire,
Yeah.
which he is. But a whole thing about like inviting them into your home, you can't
Yeah.
do that.
So did you work that out, Alfie? Is this the first time you'd watched it
Yes.
to do this review? So did you work out the Max thing?
Max.
at the beginning.
Yeah, given
As
that
the
he
head.
got told they had to be invited into the
Yeah,
house.
yeah.
Yeah.
He went,
I
"You're
think-
the man of the house.
The only reason
I
I
will
would have
only
got
be
that,
invited
Yeah.
in."
yeah, was from probably watching like Let the Right One In before, not
Yeah.
the whole thing about vampires. But
Yeah.
I did like that because then they even throw you off by the fact that nothing works, but it's only the garlic that doesn't work,
Yeah.
which obviously
And then that
see
comes
later on
out
doesn't
later.
work either
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Which was quite cool. I did like that. I put that down. The subtle hint throughout of him being the head vampire was quite cool, and then seeing it actually come together at the end, him actually being it was quite nice.
But it's obvious they try to throw you off again when he goes back to his house.
Yeah.
And the bikes appear, so you think that they might be coming after him,
Mm-hmm.
but they're probably just going to talk to him because he's the head vampire.
And
The big bad.
looking back to the first time I ever watched it, that's exactly how I felt.
Yeah.
You sort
Yeah.
of thought it was Max, and you go along the lines of the Frog Brothers and, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
it can't be, and Sam. And then you get that clip of where it looks sinister, that the look that they're going for him.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, oh, have I? It does sway you off it.
Yeah, it
So
does, doesn't
I
it?
think the plot flows really well,
I
considering
definitely
what it is. And
Yeah.
I know it's not a massively long movie, so it gets to the point. It's like
Yeah.
it does what it says, you know. It
Yeah, it is very much, it sets out your story, keeps going and doesn't stop.
because you could have dragged it out. They could have dragged it out, killing
Yeah.
loads of people and
Yeah.
put it, but they don't, which I quite liked because then you get a bit bored in the middle, don't you?
So I thought the way that it kind of really was, so the opening scene, well, the first opening scene where it's them on the carousel, the merry-go-round
yeah.
or whatever, and they get told off by the security guard, and then the security guard mysteriously dies, he gets taken away. And then the When You're Strange song comes on to introduce the entire town. So it's a really quick and clever way, I think, of introducing the setting that they're doing,
Yeah.
but doing it in a way that you've already kind of seen it, but now you've seen it in the daytime. This is what it like could be. And I mean, because it means they don't have to spend a lot of time like
Yeah, exactly.
the characters walking around going, oh, this is
Yeah,
here,
you've got,
oh,
like,
this is here. It's like it's
exposition done, so
already, we already know where they are. Like the main setting, you know, by the beach, you know, at the comic book stores, the boardwalk is the main like
essentially, yeah.
the setting for what's going to happen. It's quite a clever way of doing. I mean, and the song's good.
Yeah,
It fits.
and that's
the
my other
tone.
massive like for this movie is the soundtrack as a whole. It was amazing. I had it on cassette
Really.
and played it on my Walkman. There we go.
I know what one
For
those
all
words
you
mean.
young people out there.
For any younger viewers, that's what Star-Lord uses in Guardians
Yeah.
of the
Oh,
Galaxy.
really?
Yeah.
Ah, I get what you mean now.
For anybody who our target audience, you'll already know what it is.
yeah.
It's Spotify on your phone if you now.
Yeah, listen to some Walkman
It's a
now.
CD player without a CD that you put on your that you hold or you put on your belt.
But I think for the time, looking back and we're re-watching it again, I think, yes, all right, to the effects aren't as what you would get now
Yeah.
for CGI and different things like that. But I think some of the ways they use the effects, so the clouds when they're flying and you're not seeing them flying, there was a reason for that as well,
Yeah.
which I've recently,
Alright.
Harry and I talked about. So even though it was a 8.5 million budget,
Yeah.
which is still a reasonable
Yeah,
amount,
it's quite a lot for the 80s.
but if
especially.
they'd wanted to show them the vampires flying a lot, it would have cost a hell of a lot more.
Yeah. that makes
So they did it from the vampire's point of view to cut the cost
Right,
down,
yeah. Using
which
cinematography
actually I
really.
thought it creates a certain mood
Yeah.
because
I
you
definitely
don't
agree
know
with
where they're going, you don't know what's about to happen. It clouds that.
It's easier to see, like, it's more interesting to see the terror on someone's face as something comes
Yeah.
towards them and you don't
Yeah.
know what's happening.
Where, like
So-
when they go to the
yeah,
car
so-
with the two
yeah,
that
so
were
then there's the
making out in the car.
And then there's the fire scene where where they all come down on them.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can't see it, you know, so they're scared, but you're scared that they're scared.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
you don't really know what they're so
They're
frightened about 'cause
seeing,
you
yeah.
can't see it, can you?
They just hear something. So that scene where they're in the car and the roof of the car
Yeah,
gets
so-
ripped off, she says, "Did you hear that?" And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, more interested."
Yeah, your
It's really
classic
clever
kind of
when
horror
they
things
do
like,
Yeah,
Go
which I
check
quite
it.
like that because it did give that little bit of then that horror bit throughout it.
Yeah.
But for me, yeah, the comedy side, the
going like to the
one-liners.
effects and stuff, I think like the bike scenes particularly, especially the first one where they tell Michael to keep up with them, like going along the beach, it's all like it's real, so it's like
Yeah.
and it's filmed really well. I think,
definitely is, I
especially then
agree.
when they go in the fog and you can still see everyone, but you can't see everyone, and that's like, you know, the whole point.
Yeah.
It's like really, I think, cleverly done, the way that they kind of make the vampires not seem like vampires, just like bullies.
Essentially, yeah.
But because
Just
you know,
he
but
wants
then
to
like
fit
the
in, doesn't
mystery
he?
starts
He's
to
moved
happen,
somewhere
and
new.
you start to think, you know, there's something else going on here.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of elements at the start of the film that are sort of hinged at and shown. Obviously, they want to fit in these outcasts almost, and him. It almost seems like that classic thing of someone becoming friends with the outcasts and becoming almost like a film about that, and then it diverts super quick with it becoming about vampires.
Yeah.
It's quite
Yeah.
like that
Yeah,
flip
drink this
around
blood.
of a normal sort of
Well,
formula
they're eating
film.
the Chinese, isn't it?
Yeah,
the maggots and the worms.
Yeah, like something
That was
weird is
quite cool.
going on.
Yeah.
I think going back to like the goriness of the film, which is, I think, is used quite well in the fact that it surprises you when it happens. So not much has really been shown up until like the fire scene and then the house scene at the end, like the final battle.
Yeah.
Because of all the POV shots that are kind of like more alluding to what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot
And
of
then,
obscure
you know,
stuff.
Michael watches the campfire and people are like getting their heads torn off, getting like bitten, there's blood going everywhere, the vampires have it like dribbling from their mouths, you know, it's all over them. It's like, it's that shock factor that really gives the scariness of what's going on, instead of, you know, continuing to just show people dying off screen.
Yeah.
You needed that bit, that shock, and you're like, whoa, like they are actually vampires, and I am actually scared of them now. It's like then when they stand on the hill and they talk to Michael again, like this is what you
Yeah.
are now. You know.
Classic scene, yes.
Personally, something I like is obviously the vampires. I like that the vampires are never explained fully.
Yeah.
So you watch a lot of vampire films, and to take down the vampire, it's always like they were born on this day and they then grew up, and it's like, but no, we don't actually know anything about them at all.
Yeah.
So
They're just
we just
there.
know that they're vampires. We know Max is the head vampire by the end, and it's just they somehow exist.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of good because I didn't want them to go into like the whole lore. Of
Yeah,
it.
it definitely didn't need it, did it?
Like the most you get is the Frog Brothers explaining what vampires are, and to be
yeah.
truly honest, they don't know what vampires are
No.
after like
Oh, the
most
frog
of it.
ones are great.
You know, vampire hunters
They
in
think
quotation
they
marks.
do.
think
They
they do.
haven't
Yeah.
come up close, have they,
No.
until they do that
And
with
then in
Sam.
the final scene, they're absolutely shitting themselves in the house.
Yeah.
It's great.
And the
It's
scene where they
absolutely
get dropped in
amazing.
the bath and they all start screaming.
The dog's the only who does anything
Yeah,
handy
and
in
then
that
they
last
tell
scene.
Sam, yeah, we offed one in the bathtub, and what's the dog called?
Oh, come
Uh,
on.
I know this one.
Nanook.
Yeah.
Nanook.
Nook helped a bit.
Yes, the one who pushed the vampire in the
Yeah,
actual-
he beat the vampire.
Yeah.
But it's like when Laddie comes up through the bed.
Yeah, true.
When he starts to turn, and then they're screaming then.
Yeah.
Laddie's
Yeah.
screaming, they're screaming. Yeah.
Oh,
I thought basically my favourite characters were Sam and then Edgar and Alan, the Frog
yeah,
Brothers.
I'd agree.
I thought Sam just had the most. I mean, his personality was mainly like scared of his brother.
Yeah, pretty
but
much.
I think he played it very well. So the scene where he's in the bath as well, and he's just oblivious to what's going
Yeah,
on.
completely
But then he
oblivious.
just starts like screaming, and I think I don't know. He seems to have the most diverse kind of character thing with it because he
Okay.
has his like moments with Michael, and then he has his funny moments with the Frog Brothers. He
Yeah.
seems to he hops around the most.
He has
Like, I
the
know-
most lines.
Like Michael
That's
is
his
seen as the
biggest
main
part of the
character,
script.
but I think Sam is actually more interesting just because of the people he interacts with.
Fair enough.
And like, I mean, then Edgar and Alan are just probably my favourite.
Yeah, I definitely like the Frog Brothers.
I forgot how much Corey Feldman he just deepens his voice.
Well,
so much
I
for that role.
read something as well
hilarious.
that the director had asked him to play, or they'd asked the two of them to play the Frog Brothers like action heroes. And
That
makes
one
a
of
lot of
them
sense.
they'd said, look at Sylvester Stallone. So you think, and he wears
Yeah.
the bandana. And
Yeah, that's what I mean. I
course.
feel like half the time he's like smouldering off into the distance.
Yeah.
Like when the other one's talking,
But
he's
he's done
just like
so well.
looking off.
He-
Like,
yeah,
you know, he's because they are trying to make themselves like really tough when they'll be
God,
like
yeah.
14, 15, the same age as around Sam.
Yeah.
And they are just like I don't know what it's like. Oh, you want to buy this comic like
exactly,
vampires?
yeah.
It's more like a survival guide. It's like they're really trying to.
that's a really bad
And they're
accent.
based
I'm not trying to do.
Oh no! If you think that's bad, listen to the Predator episode.
But
Some
you know what I
sound
mean.
effects
That's
on
they're
that.
trying to like, big themselves up. Really.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that then works their characters way more at the end when they're just completely helpless.
Like one of my
essentially.
favorite lines is when they've done mostly nothing in the house scene except scream and kind of set it up, and they just go, how much do you think we should charge them for this?
Yeah, the whole house is pretty much destroyed because of it as well.
I think the dog did more than them.
Genuinely, yeah. Honestly.
But that's what makes them funny,
Yeah.
as well as the iconic kill that Sam has is death by stereo.
You're taking
That
all
was
my
quite good.
lines.
Yeah, sorry, no, I need to get them in before you do.
To be fair, that's one of my kind of likes and dislikes is how fast that last scene went.
Yeah.
It all happened within 5 minutes while the vampires died. I would have liked it if it was slightly further out, but just how the whole thing was set out and choreographed, and the action in it was still pretty good, so you can't complain about it too
I think
much.
I think you look at it and you think you might have wanted it to last a bit longer, have a bit more like gory shots
Yeah, just
in it.
slightly
But
more
also,
climactic.
it is quite cool to look how quickly they did it and how well choreographed.
God,
Because that's
yeah.
when you obviously start to see the flying mainly between Michael and David. There's the big scenes where they're bashing around the cabin, and that's when you see all the proper, like, expensive effects really. Then for them to be floating around.
Oh yeah.
And, well, then David gets impaled on.
Which is one of the best
That is really
lines
well
of the
done.
movie. When he says, "Your blood is in my veins. So is mine." See, he had this all last night.
wow.
Yeah. Moving on to the dislikes.
All right, yeah.
Do we have any?
I've got a couple. Like I already said about the last scene. I feel like the sort of tried to have a message of family between Sam and Michael. Sort of, he's going to help me even though it's his brother. But it felt like that was mentioned about once, then got sidelined a bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't too developed, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it felt as though that was going to be a core theme going through, was Sam helping Michael to kill David, which he does in the end, but it doesn't ever seem like the relationship between two brothers deepens because of it.
Yeah, there's the whole thing where he goes, "You got to help me, Sam. You got to help me," and then he goes off and does everything on his own until then Sam gets the Frog Brothers.
Yeah, but
Because he goes to save Star and I'm forgetting everyone. Laddie. He goes to save Star and Laddie.
I think if you go into it deeper, he's already got some vampire blood in him. He's half vampire.
Oh yeah.
So he's fighting, isn't he, Michael? With that, it's that he's
The inner
drawn
struggle,
to
really.
that because he has to be. But he wants to help Sam, so Sam is left to do it, and I think that says a lot about his being the main character who drives the movie, which you've already really said.
Yeah.
He is the link to everything. He is the main
Yeah, very
character,
much.
even though it's titled
Yeah.
The Lost Boys. Really, Sam is the...
Well-
and he has the worst dress sense going.
Yeah, he really does, doesn't he?
I think one of my main dislikes is my main dislike is I actually don't like Michael. I think
got
he's
the same
probably
thing.
the worst character in the film.
I find him kind of
Or,
whiny.
like, he's just boring. I just found him boring the entire film. Like, he's supposed to be the main character, and I'd rather watch like the Frog Brothers unite as a film, and they go around
would
killing
actually be
vampires
pretty
very
funny. Well,
unsuccessfully.
I know I love this movie, but I would probably agree with you because I think, and I said it when we were rewatching it, this is where I fell in love with Kiefer Sutherland in this movie.
He does do a really good
I
job.
still love him. I think he's an amazing actor. He's an amazing singer. And just his whole persona is that. I think I agree.
I know. See,
I don't like the way Michael smirks sometimes. He's got a
it's
funny
kind of
look on his face.
It's like
It's
Keith
not-
Sutherland, I think he's really good. I think he carries like the scenes he's in
does.
really well. But I think Michael, I know he's supposed to be like the link between most things that's going on, and he's the half vampire that gets like, he's got a big problem going on.
He's essentially the catalyst.
But he just seems to be carried by everyone when he's in a scene.
Yeah,
It's just,
very
I
much
still
takes a
love the
backseat.
film. Like, I still really enjoyed it. It's just when you look at it, he doesn't. He kind of like ambles around from like
Yeah,
space to space
I agree.
with like Kiefer Sutherland's David telling him what to do, and then Sam telling him that we need to kill the head vampire, and then him just kind of like he doesn't really discover much for himself.
I think that might be part of his move to a new place. Just because he's older than Sam
I know.
doesn't mean that he's worried about fitting in. So that's his way of trying to fit in, isn't it?
Essentially, going along with them regardless of
in a
better
new
judgment.
place that he doesn't really want to be in.
Yeah,
I also don't really like Star very much.
she's not sure. I mean, I can kind of get that because she just.
Well, I just
don't
thought
think the film ends and you don't really know an awful lot about her.
I know. I don't think. I think mainly I don't really like her because I think she was underused for some of the like things she did, and I think the romance between her and Michael was okay, except I think some of it was a bit lazy. So it's like when he went to go see her and they had sex in the cave.
They did what?
I know, right?
Friendly podcast.
I thought it was a bit forced. It just, I don't know, there was something about it.
I can
But
get what
she
you
was
mean.
supposed to kill him then.
I know,
Yeah.
but it felt like it was. This is an 80s film, and we've got teens. We got to get like something in there for them. We need to
Yeah,
get a
true.
romance.
That it didn't really. You
But
didn't
it
feel
didn't
like
really do anything.
was for
Like, I
the
don't
plot.
mind the romance between them. That's fine because he's attracted, and she was supposed to kill him.
Yeah,
and that, I guess
which
that's
makes
kind of
sense.
like the seduction of the vampire thing.
Yeah,
Originally,
that makes
but
sense,
he
yeah.
ends up turning himself. You know, it's. I don't know really. It's just something that kind of puts me off sometimes
That's fair.
watching it.
It's quite funny. I'd be interested to see. There's a lot of films we've done where there's been a romance thing, and you've always nitpicked about the romance being the downside of the film.
I never think they do very well.
Which I do agree with the larger most.
A
But
lot
this
of them-
one, I don't like Star as a character. I feel like the romance served its purpose.
I know.
In
Yeah.
kind of that was the main way David was going to bring Michael
Yeah.
into the group.
I liked that. See, I didn't mind that because she was. That's what they're trying to do. Like it's that.
Yeah, that
thing
was
of,
her
like you know,
character,
the vampires drawing them in.
Yeah, her character.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have... So not everyone can be the main character, can
Oh,
they?
definitely.
No.
So what you're saying, and I agree, she's sort of on the outskirts a little bit. It is,
Yeah,
so
she's
she's the
definitely a side
draw
character
to
for
bring them in.
I know,
I mean,
but I
she
feel
goes on as an actress. She
Yeah.
goes on to do a lot of big
I
stuff
think the
after
problem
this, so it
is
launches it.
after that, they either should have used her very little or like used her a lot,
No.
but they seem to just go in the middle. So because
Yeah.
she lured him, that should either be the end of her purpose or she should then like have a bigger purpose after that. But they seem to go somewhere in the grey
Yeah,
area,
she kinda
and
does.
they don't know how to use her. I think that's the problem.
Because she's there for that last scene.
Yeah.
And she does some things
Like,
she
defends
she
Laddie
stays
and
back,
stuff,
yeah,
you know,
keeps
and she-
Laddie back from helping Laddie and protecting the
But I
others.
don't feel like she has a massive impact on it. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
get what you mean. Her part of
Yeah.
the story is very much focused on like the first half of the film. So when she's in the last half, it's like she's still there, but more for almost the sake because she was there early, so we need to kind of keep her in here.
Yeah.
But I
'Cause-
don't think that really her purpose was.
Yeah, she
bad.
just like I don't think anything that's like we've mentioned in this dislikes really brings the film down a whole lot. It just kind of like stops it from being really, really good.
Yeah,
Or
I
like-
agree.
or like
it's very like
excellent, really.
nitpicky story things that could have been just
Yeah,
made
like
it to
ironed
flow a bit
out.
easier.
That kind of maybe if they had a slightly longer runtime, like usually I say quite nice to have a short film,
Yeah.
and it was for the most part. But sometimes when maybe developing some of the characters, they were trying to develop but couldn't
Didn't quite
because
have the
everyone
time.
else was there.
Yeah.
You know,
That's fair. I think you did get a lot of development from Sam and Michael, but
Ex-
not an
yeah.
awful lot from. Obviously, you had the
like the Frog Brothers didn't really need it
Oh,
because
no.
they were like the comic relief characters, but it was more like Star and maybe David. We didn't really need to know anything about David.
no, but I think it could have served
Yeah.
sort of the vampires group a bit better to show
Yeah.
kind of
how he ended up becoming.
yeah how he ended up there, but not necessarily being too specific. 'Cause like we said, it's kind of nice. That
Yeah,
there's
to
nothing
have
Yeah.
the
that's
mystery
too-
about it.
Yeah, it's not like he was a kid from 500 years ago who got whatever possessed.
Yeah.
we don't really care about that. It's more that seeing almost how his life alone and sort of outcasted would have affected him
Yeah.
over that time, and that's how he became
Yeah.
like this. Would have been a nice thing to see, I think. One other thing is the mum is just such a
Yeah, I don't like the
ditzy
mum
character.
that much.
she annoyed me so much because she's just sort of there, and that's about it.
I know,
don't know
it feels
something
like-
about her was just so weird.
Yeah,
I don't think she's
understand what you
supposed to
mean.
be.
No, I think she's
a whole
supposed to be a bit off.
character. If you at the very beginning when she arrives and she has the conversation with her dad when she's they're unloading the car, she's already saying there like she didn't fight for anything in the divorce
Yeah.
because the dad says,
I've never seen a woman come out of a divorce with like less than like
Yeah.
not
Essentially,
good.
yeah.
so you already get the idea that she's probably a bit of a pushover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And throughout it, she wants to protect the boys, and they have I like their relationship because she does sort of
Well, it's like when Max says to her, "You need to discipline your kids," and you know she's like, "Oh, you know they're all right," but he's like, "Don't let them walk all over." She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, they don't walk all over me," and they kind of do, really.
yeah, but they have a relationship,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
but and I like that, but I can see she comes across as a bit of a
it
drip.
seems like the classic '80s mum that would make a breakfast and then the kid would run out on it. You know what I mean? Like I know it's not in this film, but when they make the massive
That's a good
breakfast,
point,
she
actually,
feels like one of those
She's
80s
just-
mums that
Yeah.
just kind of is slightly irrelevant but needs to be there.
Yeah, I think it's because she's just a very stereotypical 80s mother figure, but it doesn't necessarily fit the flow of the film. because the film itself is very breaking out of a traditional view on vampires and the actual formula of it. So it feels like maybe if she had something slightly different, or even just a bit of improvement throughout the story, maybe even just sort of, I can't think of anything, but something that made her a bit just different.
More feisty.
Just stood out amongst everything.
Like she's there to draw in Max, really.
Yeah,
to
and
have,
that's
have
exactly.
a like a thing
That's
to the,
the
film.
link between their family and the vampires.
Because ultimately, Max does like the way she nurtures.
Exactly.
Because that's what he says at the end.
They want a mother. They need a mother.
Yeah.
That's why he wants to.
So he did like the way that she parents, really, because she's that
reason,
nurturer, and that's what. And because she is that bit of a pushover, that he was finding it easy to woo her over, really. Sense. So that would have drawn, and like he says at the end, if I could get your boys on board, you would be much easier to.
Yeah.
Because she would just follow them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, she was going to. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Because she goes to at the end, doesn't she?
Yeah, because Sam is being held by Max.
Actually, this is diverting very sort of out and back to the like section. The granddad, he was hilarious in that last part. I love the fact that the Andy said the biggest thing he hates about Santa Clara is it's overrun with vampires.
Yeah,
the entire film. He's mentioned nothing about knowing the fact there's vampires, and right then he's like, "Oh, not again."
The exact line is, "One thing about living in Santa Carla, I never could stomach all the damn vampires."
Oh, it's great.
Well, that's the thing. Here's the big theory. Do you think he's a half vampire?
No.
Yes, he is.
I think he's been killing vampires.
Nah,
the vampire killed his wife and he's been there for the whole time.
His root beer and the Oreos in the fridge that nobody is allowed to touch.
So the second shelf on the fridge.
That's animal blood that he's feeding off.
All right.
He's doing his taxidermy.
And he's always wearing sunglasses.
That's true.
You always have to come back. And I mean, in the film, it's not confirmed.
True.
But in a comic book in 2008, it is.
Okay.
Because there is a sequel to this film that came direct to DVD.
Oh, all right. That's a bit weird, isn't
it's
it?
not. Apparently, it's not very good. But in the comic, like between those two that they made, it's like.
Wait, sorry. They had a film that had a theatrical release, then a comic book, and a CD.
Not CD.
Sorry, DVD.
DVD. Yeah.
That's really weird, isn't it?
Because I think they were just trying to reignite the nostalgia, but.
I mean, that's interesting. Actually.
Obviously, the mystery of it there, but he knows about the vampires.
He knows he knows about them.
So. And it's like when he's hammering the fence posts in.
Yeah, he has
them upside down.
Yeah, true.
So the points.
It's not like he's trying to keep people out. It's like he's trying to kill whoever's coming in.
So there's lots of little things that go throughout.
That's fair. I could get that.
From going back, even originally watching it, I came out of the cinema going, he must be. As soon as he says, the first rule in the house is everything on that shelf is mine, you don't touch it, which is his double baked Oreos and his root beer.
What are the Oreos on?
Don't know.
The bits of meat that are out of the taxidermy.
Stuff with meat, that's what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, obviously in the film it doesn't tell you, but it's very highly hinted because of the fact he knows there's vampires and he's not.
And he has an armoured car with stakes.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the Woody makes.
Yeah.
And his one-liners are amazing because he doesn't have a lot to say at all.
No, he doesn't have much screen time either.
There is a couple of absolute corkers throughout the movie, and especially when they're running up the stairs. Michael's holding Sky.
Oh yeah.
And they've got Laddie, and they've rescued him out of the cave, and they're all rushing up. They're all covered in blood. And he says, "Do you know the rule about taking the car out without
to fill it up with
it?" Right, Grandad. Right, Grandpa.
Well, now you know.
Now you know. There's nothing related to him about these covered in blood.
It's the original time he gets in the car with Sam and he goes, "Let's go to town." And then he stops again and he gets out and he goes, "I thought we were going to town. That's as close to town as I'd like to get."
I guess it's probably also another reason that he could be a vampire, isn't it?
Yeah,
he just likes to stay away from
yeah.
And the fact he was playing dead at the start.
Yeah.
He could have actually just been asleep.
Yeah.
Although he seems to be on a lot of... I like when he goes on the dates and he's like, "This woman just called." He's like, "Oh, I guess I'm getting lucky tonight." And he's like...
Yeah, using the Windex as...
the Windex
as...
God, that's hilarious.
He literally walks in. "Do you have anything that resembles aftershave?"
Oh, God.
Doesn't actually even try to get some. It just resembles.
Just something that might work.
All right, then.
Yeah.
So...
About time for
I
ratings.
think we've had enough to say. As usual, the guest episode, we will take the guest rating. It will not be added to the official score, but it's nice to know.
See, I've struggled with this because I just absolutely love it. Yeah, it's one of the
Well, I think
my utmost
we've had like a
favourite
10
movies.
before.
I don't know if we have.
No, I think
every guest
I think
has put it-
Iris might have given
Oh,
it a
wait,
10
yeah,
for Labyrinth.
true.
But most of them have given
Every
it
guest
a
has-
9.
See, I don't.
Knocked it down a few pegs.
I think
For
so.
anything, I would struggle to give it a 10 because there's
Yeah.
always something
It's really hard to
in a
find
movie.
perfect
So,
film.
if you want my rating, is a 9
Is a 9.
out of 10.
It's valid, yeah.
It's fair. Yeah. Alfie?
I've given it a 7 out of 10.
A 7. Oh, yeah.
Come on, Harry.
Yeah, I'm around more the same as Alfie. Rewatching it, I'm kind of thinking this isn't like perfect. It's not amazing, but but if I wasn't looking at it from the point of view we do when we're trying to find the little things that maybe don't bring it that well, but myself, like, I do really love it and just the one-liners. So I gave it an 8,
All right.
which
That's
gives
flat
the film
7.5,
a
isn't
7.5. Which I
I
mean,
That's
could
pretty high,
live-
actually,
I
isn't it,
can
for us?
live
it's
with
fairly
that.
respectable
Yeah.
because it's not perfect. It's not
No,
like.
but it
It is
wasn't ever
a
set out.
vampire flick that did change a lot of the views people
Yeah.
had, though, which makes it really
I
interesting.
think it was definitely a pioneering film.
Yeah, definitely when they tried to reinvigorate the idea of a vampire, and then obviously it was one of the first to change it. So I think 7.5 is pretty decent.
Yes, I'll relent to that. Questions.
Questions.
Was that a Fonzie?
It's like a really sleazy
Sorry,
Italian
everyone.
guy.
This is the questions section.
Yep.
And as we have a guest on, they have written me and Alfie 3 questions, and we are going to see if we can get them right.
Let's hope so.
Don't have much faith in myself, like usual.
You've got to have faith, otherwise you won't ever. Get
I
Alfie's
think
just
you'll do
informed
quite
me
well,
that
both
I'm
of
5
you.
episodes behind in question points. So,
You can
All right.
you can make a comeback. I'm
question 1, please, Claire.
There's
You
always
really-
like a
you're really
momentary
struggling.
pause where you're like, oh, what do I
can't
say?
call
What
me
do I
Mum.
say?
I don't know.
So, a really iconic question 1. So the really iconic part for me, anyway, is when Grandad is talking about the TV guide
Right.
and having no TV.
Uh-huh.
But what day does the TV guide get delivered?
Oh,
I know the line he says. It said, read the TV guide, don't need a TV. But I don't know.
I'm not really sure. I'll be honest. I've got a guess, but I'm not entirely. Well, it's a 1 in 7, isn't it?
Yeah,
Probably 6, though, because we don't get posts on Sundays.
it's America.
This is Santa Clara in the 80s.
I know, but
Rampant
Gets
murder and
delivered by vampires.
Yeah, sorry. There's vampires, but you're queuing delivery on Sundays.
are you sure he gets there?
Trying to like stay near the mic and write my answer off to the side here.
Okay.
Why have I done a bracket? Oh, never mind. I'm just gonna leave it.
I've got my answer.
We've
feel
gone
like-
old school, and I've given them pen and paper.
I've not had to write for like 7
write
weeks
it.
now. Right.
Right, okay, my answer is Monday.
Mine's Thursday.
You're both wrong.
Oh, is it Friday?
Wednesday.
Oh,
Why is the TV guide? That's the most
No,
inconvenient time to get a TV guide delivered.
I was going to either say Thursday or Tuesday, so I was scupping either
So-
way.
Well, I was
Yeah.
thinking you get it at the start of a week, you have it for the week or whatever, then you get a new one, don't you?
Eh?
Yeah, but what if
It's
like,
delivered on the Wednesday,
changes?
ready for the next week.
Weird TV schedules.
Well, that's what came.
Well, no points for us then. Right, question 2.
I've got one that you didn't get.
I think they'll be quite if you do. I'll be honest.
Question 2.
Okay.
What comic book is Sam looking for when he first meets
one.
the Frog Brothers?
Do you need like specifics or just?
Yeah, because
Oh,
there's
yes.
a number.
Oh, a nice one.
Oh, I can't remember what number. I know
I made a point of memorising this and the Superman ones just in case they came up.
Because wasn't he?
There's 5 in existence. 4 actually. He's looking out for the other 3.
Well done.
That I remember that 'cause I was right at the start and I was still awake.
I can only.
Come on, you're going to be a big disappointment to me, Harry.
Yeah, I
if you
can't
don't
remember
get
it.
any of these right.
Getting
Wow.
disowned because we're
Wow.
bad trivia around.
I don't know. I know he talks about the Superman comics, but I don't think that's the one he's originally looking for. Like, because he talks about them going, oh, the Superman thingy. I don't remember. the
77s
numbers.
can't be near the 200s.
Yeah.
And then 90-somethings can't be near the 300s.
Yeah, because they haven't met Rep Kryptonite yet.
Or Laurie, someone.
Yeah.
Can't remember.
I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm just gonna put random numbers down. It's not right. Batman
14.
65.
Alfie gets a point. Batman 14. Batman number 14.
I don't know.
Beautiful.
I knew it was Batman, I think, but
I mean, you got the property right, you know.
yeah. Fair enough. Question 3 then. See if I can
Question
get a
3.
Come on, you can get this. I really hope you do.
Alfie furthers his lead.
Oh no.
Who does Grandpa have the hots for?
Oh shit! I forgot the last name.
I don't know any of their names.
I don't
Because
know.
he talks about he's going to deliver some wood to this married woman or something, isn't he? He goes on about.
And he takes something he's stuffed for her.
Yeah.
Oreos.
And that's when Michael says, was it Mr.
Yeah.
whoever?
I can't remember the last name.
I'm gonna write it down.
I'm going the old. The guessing last name.
I can't wait to see these then.
Right. Mine is Widow Barbara Smith.
Widow Johnson.
Oh, Alfie!
What was
Correct!
it? Was it actually?
Widow Johnson.
Oh my. What? What? See, I thought it began with an S. I was like, no, I've got this wrong here.
No, it's the Widow Johnson. Where on earth did you get Smith?
Because it's the most common surname.
I mean,
In
that's a
England.
valid.
Oh,
I
well,
mean,
Johnson's a pretty...
that's what I always
isn't
go.
it?
Whenever I can't think of last name, it's Johnson.
Oh, Harry, that's it.
Well, okay. So I've been disowned, but
You've been disowned.
no need for that. How relevant do we think this film is today?
I mean, as we discussed between sections, there is 2 sequels which didn't do very well at all, but they were still made. So obviously there is that popularity and following around the film, and as we said again, sort of pioneered a different view of vampires and not necessarily being that classical sort of, I don't know what the word would be, people in big castles and the scary,
Yeah.
pale wearing big
Yeah.
clothes.
It wasn't
These were-
Transylvanian.
No, it wasn't
vampires who
Transylvanian
sleep in
Dracula.
coffins.
It
and-
brought it more to traditional life.
Yeah, it
So
was
that
more
it
modern,
could
wasn't
be,
it?
somebody could be
I think they
walking
made
around
the modern
with
day
us.
vampire before it was then reinvigorated by other films that came
Yeah.
out
Yeah, I
and
think it's
romanticised them
like-
again, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, laid the groundwork for it almost though.
Yeah.
It's definitely a film you should watch. Like, I know a lot of people, I think some of the people who listen to this podcast think it's like the best vampire film ever. I think.
Yes.
No, let the right one in. Let the right one in.
Haven't seen many vampire films. I do
haven't
agree
either,
with
really.
Alfie, Let the Right One In is really good. That's a Swedish vampire film.
I don't know if that's the best though.
Don't know if it's
I'd
the
have
best, but
to
I haven't-
actually watch Vampire.
Like, I haven't seen any. So, like, we
Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Dracula, Prince of Darkness. Yeah, we got to watch that at some
Oh
point.
god, the 60s films.
But
The
I
80s Cinema
think
Club.
for when it was made in 1987, it was relevant. It said that the outfits, the music, everything was, and I think that does bring it. There's a big 80s revival, isn't there? That is why you're doing an 80s Cinema Club podcast. But
Yeah.
I think it did. I agree with what you're saying. It did pave the way for things like Twilight, Interview with the Vampire, Buffy the Vampire
Oh, yeah.
series.
Well, this, I can't remember what the phrase was. It was something like vampon or something. This somehow popularised that phrase,
Yeah.
which is used in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right.
That's quite cool. I didn't know that.
I can't remember. It was vamp something, but it was like...
So and I
Vampire.
think for me the relevance as well, if you look at the story as a whole, and we've mentioned it, is about fitting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
So
essentially, isn't
that whatever generation you're looking at, fitting in's always a problem. People
And you don't need to
moving,
become a
things-
vampire to fit in with those around you.
Yeah, or fit in with any type
it?
of
Generally,
person.
I
It's
think
just,
becoming a vampire probably wouldn't solve any problem.
yeah,
Well, the problem of aging.
yes.
Fair. Yeah. You could say that.
But yeah, I think the relevance. It's still a good
Oh,
movie,
yeah. Definitely still is. It holds up as being quite an entertaining story still.
and
Yeah.
it's good that you two who weren't born in the 80s enjoyed it.
As we
So
keep
I'm good.
mentioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
No,
sometimes
but I-
allude to being born
I
in
like
the 80s.
listening.
It's really weird.
I like listening to what you guys are saying
Yeah.
because it brings a different scope of things that I've watched originally,
Yeah.
and you see it on a different slant, so it's good.
Well, everyone go watch Lost Boys if you haven't already.
And that's it.
Yes, that was The Lost Boys from 1987. It has been a joy to record this with you, Mother.
There's the pause again. Oh, it's hilarious.
Thank you for asking me.
Oh, don't. Yeah, we might get you back on for some other things later
Will you
on.
figure out what
Yeah.
to refer to your mother as at that point?
No.
Yeah. No, I've loved doing it. Thank you. It's one of my favourite movies, so it was a good.
Yeah, we haven't had a guest on that hates the film they do yet. I want one of those.
That would be a really weird thing, wouldn't
Yeah,
it? Getting someone
why
who
would
just
they come on?
really
Yeah.
hates a
Yeah.
film.
Well, we'll find one I don't like. I'll come on and slag it off.
Yeah, true. We could do that. That would make it
That'd
more
be an
interesting.
interesting point of view, actually.
Yeah, so we're very thankful that you have listened to this episode.
Yep.
Please go follow us on our social media at Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok at the 80s Cinema Club, and YouTube.
Oh,
Get
yeah,
that one.
YouTube,
The
that's what
podcasts are going up on there now. You're listening to this on something, obviously, but we
Walkman,
have
maybe.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music and Audible, Good Pods. I don't think anybody listens on there.
I think we might have had one
I
listen.
think that was you.
It might have been actually, yeah.
to test it out.
I think
to
it
test
was.
out.
Well, it
yeah.
works.
Please go listen to us on those. Please get in contact with us for any movie suggestions. Basically, I don't know, if you want to ask us a question, maybe write a question for a film, we might do it.
Oh, that'd be
You know,
interesting, actually.
Basically anything, just message us. If you want to tell us how you didn't like the episode, please get in touch. We'd always like to have an argument with someone.
A difference of opinion.
Yes.
It'd be good to see, actually, yeah.
You know,
Especially on someone's we've rated really highly to see
Yeah.
maybe something we missed.
you know that one, the thing you did, it's actually a 2. Oh, why do you think that?
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. No, please get in
I like
touch
that.
with us, and thank you for listening. Thank you again, Claire, for coming on.
I'd love to see it. I think every time you've changed between Mum and Claire,
Alfie, we need to get your mum on.
she's already
See
said she
how
never
you-
wants to be on.
And see how it
would
would
do the
react.
Breakfast Club.
I'd have to rain check that. I'm not sure. We'd see.
All right. So that's a goodbye from the 80s Cinema Club.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.